America Meditating Blog Talk Radio Show. We collect wisdom, hear stories, and inspire each other. I'm Sister Jenna. Tune in live from Monday through Friday at 8 a.m.
The entire world watched.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
And humanity saw that the sky was not the limit. Achievement. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
Hi, I'm Angela Peabody of Global Woman Peace Foundation, and I listen to America's Meditating Radio Show.
Sister Jenna and the American Meditating Radio Show are the key to peace, truth, beauty, and all that is good in the world, which is why I am a confirmed listener. This is Valerie Alexander, author of Happiness as a Second Language.
He went without food, not to lose weight, but to help people lose generations of hate. While many around him rose up with violence, he sat down for peace. When others used religion as an excuse for war, he used it to remind them of love. Mahatma Gandhi made the world a far better place by reaching out with the strength he cultivated within his soul. So, pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
Like the clouds in the sky, like a smile
Hello, everyone, and welcome to America Meditating Radio. I'm your host, Sister Jenna. We're broadcasting from the beautiful Meditation Museum in the nation's capital at Tyson's Corner. I trust that everyone's doing okay, well, fantastic, awesome. And even if you're not, are you using even what you're feeling as a gift to see how well you can enhance your mind and empower your mind? Stay tuned because we're going to have a wonderful guest on all the way from the United Kingdom, Dr. Tamara-Russell, who's a neuroscientist, author, clinical psychologist, and a wicked martial arts expert, by the way. And after watching her video on some of her practices or her sharings, it had me thinking, to what extent are we really using this faculty called the mind or the soul? And let me try to break it down really simple, like, you're driving on the road or you have to wait on somebody. Let's use this one. You're waiting on someone and you're always waiting on somebody. And this particular person's always late, and you get to a point that you go blowing your horn, you're getting irritated, and you really just want to drive off and leave them, because why should your time be constantly under the karmic energy of someone else's time? I was born in a different time or date. They were born in a different time or date, and they have me waiting for them based on their karmic time. So you find yourself getting frustrated or upset or annoyed. Why do we use our minds in such a weak way? Let's say that I do know the person's always got you waiting. Then you go, if you're not going to be ready in a minute, then I have to leave. So then your mind is clear and your heart is clear, right? You don't get annoyed waiting. The point that I'm trying to make to you is how many situations during the course of a day do you find your awareness or sense of self not working at a very elevated or stable, mindful place? We're talking more and more about mindfulness, about being present, being in the now, being appreciative, being clear in terms of the way you're showing up in the world. And I'm glad to know that in areas of research, science, and even just in the academia world, individuals are moving towards trying to access the power of the human mind and to develop the state of consciousness, which we really all come here with, to use our lives in a very profound way. Please stay tuned as we have a heart-to-heart conversation with Dr. Russell and go into how the mind is working in the consciousness and what are some of the things that we need to pay attention to ourselves on. And before we go to Dr. Russell, why don't we have a meditation together? Breathe in deeply, relax. Om Shanti. The time that we choose to be aware doesn't necessarily require me to just sit and meditate. But even while I walk and move around, I can be in a meditative awareness, which is awareness of the soul, the original, eternal, imperishable being of light. For a little while, I'd like to invite you to be present, to be here, and to be now. Allow your mind to settle in the moment, to relax. This meditation is about awareness. It's about becoming aware of your original and eternal self. It's about connecting to your truth. Let go of your name. And observe yourself feeling nameless. Let go of your gender to discontinue thinking you're a man or a woman. Let it go and observe how you would feel walking around without a gender. Let go of the role that you play and let go of the titles that you own. Observe how you're feeling as you are gradually letting go. Let go of your religion and put it aside just for now. And let go of your nationality and even the language that you're accustomed to. Imagine you have no name, gender, role, title, religion, nationality, or even a language. Ask yourself, how do you feel at this moment? And in this feeling, who would think of you, and who would you think of? The Supreme Soul would think of you, and you, the liberated soul, would think of the Supreme. In this state of absolute freedom, I am truly who I am. A free, peaceful, pure, immortal, and eternal soul. Allow yourself to just be absorbed in this awareness. At this time, welcome back. It's time for us to amplify the power of our inner resilience, the power of our minds, the greatest gift to our creation. The American Meditating Radio is proud to welcome Dr. Tamara-Russell. Dr. Russell is a neuroscientist, author, clinical psychologist, martial arts expert, and leading mindfulness trainer. She works as an academic, clinician, and consultant, teaching groups and individuals in the public and private sector. Tamara is also involved in international research investigating how mindfulness changes the structure of the brain and exploring how mindful movement taps into these neural circuits in a particular powerful way. She lectures in neuroscience and mindfulness at King's College in London and has been in dialogue with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, speaks regularly on mindfulness around the globe, appearing both on stage and radio. Her newest book is entitled Mindfulness in Motion, and today we welcome Dr. Russell all the way from the United Kingdom. Very warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much, Sister Jenna. Hi, everybody.
Hi, great to have you. I'm always curious to find out a little bit how, we get on our path, because it has so much to do with the intentions behind the way that our stories it's unfolding. How did you get interested in psychology and mindfulness? Were you just always born with that interest?
I started studying psychology when I went to university, and I think I had a natural affinity for the subject and was very curious about this thing called mind, and psychology seemed to be the route to go and explore that. As I kind of stayed in my postgraduate studies, I became more interested in neuroscience and involved in neuroimaging, and specifically this technique called functional MRI, trying to understand a little bit more how the sort of wetware of the brain is processing information. And then it wasn't really until I did my clinical training that I started reading about what we here in the UK refer to as secular mindfulness trainings. And these were trainings that were being offered within the mental health setting, and specifically for people with long-standing depressive illness. And when I started reading about it, it really piqued my curiosity because it had a slightly different slant on it from some of the things that I'd been learning, but was definitely complementary.
Nice.
The other strand of also my own personal journey was, since I've been studying and I was aware that I was kind of really using my mind and my head and my brain a lot, I also like to use my body and have that kind of a balance. So I have been studying Shaolin-style Kung Fu, sort of alongside my clinical and academic work. But it wasn't really until maybe about sort of 7 or 8 years ago that I started to merge those two sets of learnings. My own personal experience of developing through working through the body in martial arts, and then my clinical and academic interests. And that really sort of forms the heart of pretty much everything that I do now, the blending of psychology, neuroscience, and martial arts teachings and methods.
Powerful. Now, on a soul or a spiritual level, what does all of that actually feel like? I'd love to hear what it all feels like for you as you walk and move around.
Well, I would like to say that I'm in this state of pure awareness all the time, but it's quite difficult to do that in London, I have to say. But, I really liked your example that you gave earlier on about, actually in any moment we can connect to this different sense of awareness or different sense of self. And, the more we can do that and the more we can sustain that, our experience will be very different. We'll connect with others in a different way. We'll be healthier because we won't be getting stressed and having all the knock-on effects of stress and cortisol in the brain and the body. When it's going well, for me, the passion is really the dialogue that I have between myself and either my patients or my clients or my students or people that I meet, that shared learning experience where I'm bringing something or I'm offering some sort of teaching, but actually I just always end up learning from the person that I'm engaged with. So for me, that's the more sort of spiritual aspect of it, when minds are really sharing and growing and developing together. And that's when I come out of a session or I come out of a group and I just think, wow, this is really special. I'm so privileged for this. Sometimes I'm thinking, I can't believe I get paid for this,
Right, exactly. I think that's what it is, where you're really utilizing your life in a more meaningful and purposeful way. We've been enjoying one of my very good friends, Reshma Thakkar's Belief Explore Quest, and from an IT tech to fulfilling her life's purpose by exploring very deep, heartful questions. She's saying, what took me so long to access my mind's capacity and my quality of existence? And I feel that that's where we're moving more towards after we've exhausted our physical, mental resource, so to speak. We want to go into the resource of our minds in a way that it's spiritual and looking at more imperishable qualities. I think we'd love to congratulate you actually on the release of your new book, Mindfulness in Motion. Many of us consider mindfulness or meditation or yoga, let's just go back to meditation more, where you just find time to sit quietly and get focused. And I feel that it's more what you're doing when you're walking and moving around that actually determines if you're in a mindful state or a meditative state or not, by looking at just the vibe and the energy that's coming through you. In the book, you explore 5 key principles of movement-based mindfulness. I'd love if you could share with our listeners those principles and why are they so important?
Well, and I think before I do that, just a kind of overarching point, which was the sort of rationale of this approach. The 3 things you said, you need to find time, already a major barrier for most people. Sit down. Again, many people really struggle to sit still, and some of them maybe because of physical or mental difficulties. And then the last one, and focus, minds as they are today, and particularly for the young people, very scattered, lots of problems with holding and maintaining attention. So that was really the starting point, was sort of wanting to offer something to people who would struggle with what's been either traditionally offered in a spiritual context or what's being offered in the programs that we use predominantly in the UK, which is mindfulness-based stress reduction from John Kabat-Zinn, and then mindfulness-based cognitive therapy from the Oxford group. So it was wanting to find something that could be an alternative for people that were interested, but they maybe just weren't quite either ready or maybe would never want to sit down and meditate. And I took as my starting point, actually, the secular definition of mindfulness that John Kabat-Zinn offers. He describes it as a type of awareness that arises when certain conditions are met. And this is when we're paying attention, very much on purpose, deliberately, moment by moment, and without judging. So trying to unpack that definition in order to sort of help explain it to people, or, help people to understand what is this thing called mindfulness? Everybody's talking about it, but I don't really get it. I wanted to unpack that definition, and I came up with these sort of 5 themes that people could explore just one of the themes, and that certainly would help with some form of self-awareness, or they could go through a process of exploring all of them. And the way we explore them is through this sort of triple route, which is this is what your brain is doing, this is why this practice is important from a kind of mindfulness theory point of view and sort of understanding oneself point of view, and then here's a movement exercise that will really illustrate this point for you in a very direct, concrete way, so that you really got a grasp of, like, this is the thing that I'm on the lookout for. And then a real invitation to weave practices in day-to-day life. So as you say, you can be doing a little bit of developing awareness, whether you're walking to the photocopier, whether you're preparing to go into a meeting with your boss. These are all moments when you can move mindfully as a way to explore yourself and develop. So the 5 themes are, the first one is pause. So, not unusual. We've got this idea of sort of taking time out or allowing time to see things is really the point there for me. And yes, you can go on a nice big pause like a retreat. Brilliant. You can go on a pause by sitting on a cushion for 20 minutes. Also brilliant. But you could just also begin to play with the pacing and the speed of your movement. And we know that if you directly and deliberately begin to alter the pace of how you move the body, you're not only interrupting automatic motor programs and really bringing them right up into conscious awareness, but you're also working out circuits of the brain that are involved in inhibition. Now, you're working out motor inhibitory circuits, but what the neuroscience tells us is that these circuits are they're connected and work alongside the same circuits that we use when, for example, we want to inhibit or pull back from a chain of rumination in the mind, for example. If we notice that the mind is thinking, we want to put a stop to it and bring ourselves back to here and now. And we have similar circuits that help us regulate our emotional. So this is really the point about when we weave what we know about the neuroscience, we add in this motor element. Actually, we have got a very powerful tool to allow us to support our growing awareness in the space of the mind, but use the body to help us get there. And then I'll say about the others. So the second one is about intention. So we explore the topic of intention at the very smallest level, which is what is my intention as I go into a mindful movement, all the way up to the consideration of how our intentions change over the course of our lives, how we might revisit intentions, how we might be aware of how they change, and this idea of really beginning to act in the world with awareness. And really how we act in the world is through our bodies. So that first level of training, very vital and very relevant, is move deliberately. Be aware of your intention to move. Start tracking it, observing it, getting familiar with it so that you know what you're doing before you do it. Skillful action, you might call that. The other one is attention. So we begin to explore attention. And again, the body and the movement system really helps us here. Because if we're learning a new movement, we're already ticking some of the boxes of what it means to be mindful. We have to pay attention. We have to do that deliberately. We need to monitor the new movement. Ideally, we need to be gentle with ourselves in the process. Otherwise, it's hard to learn. So learning new movements really stimulates all this brain circuitry, which is also what we're using when we want to go into these mindful modes. And if we do these three things, going a bit slower, being a bit more deliberate, and sort of really starting to pay attention, what gets illuminated actually is sometimes how hard that is, but also where we are when we're not present. So these I call the mental monkeys. We talk about the habits of mind that begin to emerge as we start to be more aware. So here is a little bit more this insight piece, which is learning about my own patterns and habits and responses, and, trying to decide, well, is this working for me at the moment? Is this habit really serving me? Is it in line with my values? Does it get me into more trouble than I wish for? And, this really seeing of the habits, I think, is then the beginning of the awareness to do something different. And then the last kind of theme, and it's sort of woven throughout all the others, but here it's really explored explicitly, is this compassion and gentleness. And what does it mean to be gentle as we move? What does it mean to be gentle and care, for our bodies? And we see in our modern society that this is really lacking. Not only is technology sort of pulling us head first into the screen, such that we neglect the body, but there's very real, almost epidemics of physical health problems and something that's referred to as medically unexplained symptoms, which seem to be physical symptoms related to psychological distress. And the level of suffering around this and the costs of it to health services and to businesses and to families is huge. So really this training in learning to be gentle with our bodies, learning to be gentle with ourselves when we feel strong emotions, learning to be gentle when we see habits of mind that are not skillful and not serving us, but we just need to watch them a few more times before we can kind of crack them. We explore this, and again, through exercises, through looking at the neuroscience, and giving people a direct experience of what does it mean to actually really welcome and open to and embrace challenge. And so that's sort of all woven together, really, and it's described in the book, Mindfulness in Motion, and this is kind of the teaching that I do with groups, with individuals. And, yeah, in many ways, it's sort of, it just arrived out of me in many ways. I didn't really intend to make a program, and at one point I was saying, oh no, we shouldn't have standardized programs, that's not really in line with ideas about change and impermanence. But actually it was sort of one day I looked at the materials that I had and I sort of went, wow, actually I've got loads on this. What would it be like if I put that all together? And wow. It took a bit of courage, but I had a go, and it seems to be working well.
Well, congratulations for you. I could see it put a lot of work in it, and it was unfolding naturally, which I think is beautiful. It's such a conversation to keep having, and I'd love to be able to have you back on the air to tell our listeners a little bit more about the power of mindfulness. But thank you so much, and really wish for Mindfulness in Motion to really become really popular and help as many lives as possible. Dr. Russell, before I let you go, you're welcome. Before I let you go, please share with our listeners your favorite life quote that you're living by, and perhaps a website that individuals can get information about the book or about you.
Yeah, so my website is www.dr-tamara-russell.com, and that's Russell with 2 L's at the end of it. You can find some information there. And the lines that stay with me all the time actually are from a poem from Jennifer Wellwood, who I imagine your listeners may well be familiar with. I think the name of the poem is Unconditional, but I'll just read 4 lines from it. Willing to experience aloneness, I discover connection everywhere. Turning to face my fear, I meet the warrior who lives within. So these words for me are really about that, approaching with courage, with compassion, and this sort of principle of the yin and the yang, go into the aloneness and you pop out the other side into this deep, deep connection, go into the fear, and actually what you discover is the strength. And I love those words, so thank you.
Dr. Russell, thank you so very much, and all the very best.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Take care. So many of the principles that Dr. Russell shared with us, there were so much connected to what I would think is a virtue and a quality to pay attention and to be gentle and to be compassionate. again, it goes back to being a nice person, doesn't it? Just try to use your mind's capacity to being as good of a person as you can so that you can really live a fulfilled and complete, purposeful life. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation today with Dr. Tamara-Russell. Please feel free to contact her at mindbodymot.com. And remember, no one can take away your happiness unless you give them permission, and we are here to love each other the same. So let's do that. Feel free to visit some of my stories on HuffPost and just Google Sister Jen at Huffington Post. And hope you're getting a chance to follow the radio show and taking it with you 24/7 by downloading the Pause for Peace app, as well as listening to it on Blog Talk Radio, Stitcher, iTunes, AHA Radio, and so many more. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. I'm wishing you all the very best. Constant love and gratitude for your support, your care, and your friendship. Take care, everyone. This is Kristen Hoffman with love and gratitude.
Golden flower in bloom. Bring us peace tonight. Flow from me to you. Words of purest light, crystals in your gaze, to remind our hearts we open in your name. And when we start to fall, and when we lose the call, there's nothing more